Bob Dyro sat in the back of a black SUV, the city lights flickering off his window as he tossed his phone onto the seat beside him. His hands trembled, shaking not from age, but from disbelief. He had just lost. The next morning, he appeared on CNN, his voice strained as he tried to reclaim control of the narrative. "She thinks she's clever," he muttered. "I've fought Trump for years. She's just a shadow." But it was too late. The damage had already been done. Inside the Fox News studio, the air still buzzed with aftershocks. The Hannity lights dimmed, applause echoing off the walls like the final roar of Victoria's Coliseum. Karoline Leavitt sat poised, legs crossed, eyes sharp, and a small Victoria smile flickering across her face like a gladiator after a kill. Across from her, Robert De Niro, face flushed, hands limp, eyes dark, looked like a man who no longer owned the room. Hannity, half laughing, stepped between them, lifting a hand. "What did you just witness?" he asked the crowd. Karoline Leavitt just made the stage hers. The eruption that followed was electric. Chants of Karoline, Karoline, rang from the MAGA faithful in the crowd. Liberals whispered in disbelief. An 81-year-old legend had just been dismantled live by a 27-year-old, but the drama didn't end on set. As the show wrapped, Fox News producers wasted no time posting the showdown clip to X. The clip of Leavitt playing Dyro's old Obama-praising footage, followed by her icy, cutting words, "You're done, Mr. Dyro," exploded across social media. Within seconds, hashtag Leavitt Frees Dyro rocketed to the top of trending. Memes flooded X like a digital tidal wave. One viral image showed Dyro, red-faced and shaking, caption, "When you think you're a Goodfellas gangster, but get schooled by Gen Z." A fan-edited clip paired Leavitt's knockout line with a silent scene from The Irishman, racking up over 200,000 views in under an hour. MAGA influencers were quick to anoint her. One viral post read, "Karoline Leavitt just knocked out Dyro. Gen Z. 1. Hollywood. 0. Another simply called her MAGA's comeback queen." Even Trump weighed in, tweeting, "Karoline Leavitt was fantastic. She just showed Dyro and the fake Hollywood crowd the truth. Very proud." The endorsement wasn't just praise. It was a signal. Leavitt wasn't a fluke. She had become part of Trump's inner circle. Insiders revealed that even Trump skeptics like Stephen Miller and Kayleigh McEnany were floored. "She didn't just survive," one advisor said. "She crushed him on home turf." In liberal circles, panic set in. Some rushed to Dyro's defense. "He's a legend. She used cheap tricks." Others posted. But even loyal fans couldn't deny the loss. One wrote, "I love Bob, but he got smoked. She was too sharp." A meme showing Dyro from Taxi Driver muttering, "You talking to me?" Followed by the caption, "Yeah, and you lost," racked up thousands of shares. The damage was done. When Leavitt mocked the Alto Knights' $40 million flop, the crowd laughed. Dyro, once the unshakable anti-Trump voice of Hollywood, looked small, weak, human. The press couldn't look away. Fox and friends declared her the future of a conservative movement. Charlie Kirk tweeted, "Karoline is the future. Youth, faith, fearless. She just taught Hollywood a lesson." Even outlets like Variety conceded. "She's smarter than we thought." That old clip was a perfect hit. And Atlantic warned, Dyro at 81 may no longer be fit for modern political battles. Meanwhile, Karoline Leavitt only grew stronger. In the White House, her win was treated like a state victory. Her next press briefing saw reporters swarm her with questions about Trump, Signal, and her viral moment. She smirked. "I faced Dyro. These questions don't faze me." Silence. Then respect. The girl once mocked as a talking point had become a gladiator of the media age. Dyro, still reeling, returned to CNN to lick his wounds. "She's arrogant. But Trump's still the danger," he said, voice flat, momentum lost. His fans tried rallying, calling him a legend, but even they knew something had changed. "One loss doesn't kill a career," one posted. But this left a scar. Leavitt, now dubbed Killer Karoline, had become a symbol, not just of Gen Z's rise in politics, but of a generational shift in the war for media dominance. She wasn't just defending Trump anymore. She was leading the charge. Her Catholic faith, once mocked, now connected her to millions of conservatives. Her message? Sharp, simple, and viral. And De Niro, the man with 2 Oscars, the legend of Goodfellas and The Irishman, still had fans. But in this moment, he looked like a relic of a fading era. His roar had been replaced by a whimper. His power, checked by a newcomer who knew how to weaponize media, memes, and narrative better than he ever could. This clash wasn't just political. It was cultural, a snapshot of America's soul, split between past and future, tradition and rebellion, Hollywood and heartland. And in that moment, the stage belonged to Karoline Leavitt. The morning after the showdown, Capitol Hill didn't wake up the same. Lawmakers, staffers, and media personalities buzzed with a new name on their lips. Not Trump, not Biden, not even DeSantis. It was Karoline Leavitt, the Gen Z firebrand who had, on live television, not only dismantled Robert De Niro, but shook the foundation of political commentary itself. Conservative think tanks scrambled to rewrite memos. Pollsters began inserting Leavitt into test runs for 2028. And in MAGA circles, the phrase Killer Karoline wasn't a meme anymore. It was a movement. Inside Trump's Mar-a-Lago war room, the former president stood before a massive TV screen, replaying the Fox News clip again and again. Boom! He chuckled, jabbing a finger at the screen as Karoline delivered her now iconic line. You're done, Mr. De Niro. Around him, the inner circle nodded, though a few looked visibly shaken. Not at her performance, at her power. One aide whispered to another, she's not just a mouthpiece anymore, she's a weapon. Meanwhile, De Niro remained off camera, holed up in a Manhattan penthouse, blinds drawn, the TV muted. The only light came from the flickering glow of Twitter feeds on his phone. Every swipe cut deeper. Memes, clips, breakdowns, think pieces. Headlines like De Niro crushed by Gen Z conservative, and Fox News becomes Leavitt's arena poured in. He didn't speak to anyone, not even his agent. The legend of Scorsese's muse was in freefall, and he knew it. Leavitt, on the other hand, was on a media blitz. Fox and Friends, Newsmax, even an unexpected appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast. Each time, she doubled down. Robert De Niro represents the past. I represent the future, she said coolly into mic, legs crossed, voice crisp. She wasn't bragging. She was claiming space. And the world noticed. Social media platforms turned into digital battlegrounds. TikTok at its remix or takedown with dubstep drops and gladiator themes. A popular Gen Z creator stitched her moment with the phrase, "This is what happens when you do your homework." College students who had never watched Hannity before suddenly knew every word of Leavitt's lines. Even apolitical influencers weighed in, I don't do politics, but that girl bodied him. In liberal circles, panic met disbelief. MSNBC hosts clutched their scripts, tried to reframe the damage. Sure, she had a moment, but she's still Trump's puppet. Yet the desperation was clear. Even progressive pundits like Jon Stewart were forced to admit on air she knew her stuff and De Niro didn't. Behind closed doors, Democrat strategists convened emergency meetings. One memo leaked by Politico read, "Underestimate Karoline Leavitt at your own peril. She's not the next Kaylee. She's something else entirely." In contrast, conservative operatives began whispering her name as a future VP contender. Some even went further. What if she runs in 2028? At a campaign rally in Iowa, Trump name-dropped her again. Karoline Leavitt. Smart, fierce, loyal, a total winner. The crowd roared. And this time, the mention wasn't just flattery. It was a warning to rivals. This is the next star of MAGA. Back in D.C., even moderate Republicans began adjusting their tone. Senator Josh Hawley, one skeptical of Gen Z conservatives, tweeted, "Karoline showed more grit in 10 minutes than most of Congress in 10 years. Charlie Kirk booked her for a Topeka campus tour. Her face, sharp eyes, confident smirk, MAGA red backdrop, began appearing on T-shirts and rally banners across the country. De Niro's camp tried damage control. A spokesperson issued a statement. Mr. De Niro stands by his views and won't be silenced by partisan attacks. But the words fell flat. The image of him slouched in that Fox chair, defeated, eyes cast down. It had already burned itself into national memory. The actor, once larger than life, now symbolized a fading elite caught off guard by a new era of digital combat. By week's end, Leavitt stood at the White House briefing room podium. Press swarmed her with questions. Did Trump coach you before the interview? Was that clip planted? Are you seeking office? She smiled. I prepared. I studied. And I told the truth. Maybe that's what's so shocking these days. The room went silent, not from outrage, but from recognition. Cable news ran segments titled The Karoline Effect, while X and TikTok launched challenges reenacting her Dyro takedown. Hollywood scrambled. A new SNL cold open mocked Dyro as a babbling retiree, while Leavitt was portrayed by a fresh-faced actress who mimicked her fierce coolness. Some called it satire. Others called it prophecy. The Karoline Dyro clash became more than a viral moment. It was a cultural pivot point, a generational reckoning, a symbol that the old ways of influence, prestige, legacy, Oscars, couldn't survive untouched by a sharp-tongued 27-year-old armed with receipts and conviction. Karoline Leavitt didn't just win a debate. She hijacked the national narrative. And in the smoky boardrooms of Hollywood, Dyro's name started getting said with hesitation. Not because he wasn't still a legend, but because he had finally met a force bigger than himself. Not another actor, not even a politician. A Gen Z conservative with a mic and nothing to lose. As the dust settled from the Leavitt Dyro firestorm, not everyone was celebrating. In sleek Georgetown townhouses, posh Manhattan penthouses, and glass tower think tanks across D.C. and L.A., the alarms were going off. Quiet meetings turned frantic. Group chats buzzed. Fundraising calls got sharper. The headlines weren't just celebrating Karoline anymore. They were warning shots. This wasn't just a debate gone viral. To the entrenched elite, Karoline Leavitt had committed the cardinal sin. She flipped the narrative. She made the establishment look old, tired, and out of touch. And now they wanted payback. At CNN's headquarters in Atlanta, an emergency editorial meeting was called. Anchors and producers sat around a long oval table as the director dropped a bomb. We're being outgunned on TikTok. She's weaponized the platform. We need counter-messaging. Fast. Within hours, the network greenlit a special series titled Deconstructing Karoline, aimed at picking apart her record, her ties to Trump, even her high school years. But they weren't alone. In Hollywood, Robert De Niro's allies closed ranks. Big names like Clooney, Streisand, and Sean Penn took to the media circuit, defending their friend. He stood up to Trump when it wasn't popular. Clooney said on The View, "This girl, she just knows how to go viral." The crowd clapped, but the internet didn't. Clips of the panel were met with comments like, "Okay, boomer," and "Still bitter Dyro lost a girl in heels and a MAGA pin." Even legacy media wasn't immune. The New York Times ran a Sunday feature piece titled The Rise of the Mega Starlet, questioning whether Leavitt's youthful charisma masked a dangerous allegiance to Trumpism. But once again, the tone missed a mark. The comment section exploded with replies like, "Jealous much?" and "She used your own game against you." But not all resistance was performative. Some of it was tactical. Deep within the corridors of the White House, senior Biden staffers studied polling shifts, Gen Z support, female conservative approval spikes, even independents tipping toward Leavitt's blunt style. One strategist blurted out what others were thinking. "We need a response. Someone who can go toe-to-toe with her. Young, sharp, progressive." That's when the idea was floated. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. AOC had been relatively quiet in recent months, focusing on legislative work, dodging culture war headlines. But the moment demanded fire. A deal was struck. CNN offered a primetime slot. The pitch? A live political roundtable. Topic: Gen Z in American politics. Guests: Karoline Leavitt, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Boom. Fox accepted the invite within the hour. Karoline's camp wasn't just ready, they were thrilled. "This is the battle we've been waiting for," one advisor said. "Forget Dyro. AOC is the final boss." As news of the upcoming special leaked, social media caught fire again. Hashtags like hashtag Karoline vs. OC, hashtag Gen Z Clash, and hashtag MAG Meets Woke trended in minutes. Both women prepared in silence, but the pressure mounted from all sides. Conservative influencers warned Leavitt, "This isn't Dyro. This is their star. Don't get cocky." Liberal voices hyped AOC. "She's back, and she's not here to play defense." The stage was set. Meanwhile, Dyro, watching from the sidelines, tried to reclaim some ground. He posted a black and white photo of himself with a caption, "They tried to silence me, but I'll keep fighting." Comments were mixed. Some cheered. Others replied with Leavitt memes and the now-famous quote, "You're done, Mr. Dyro." The week leading up to the debate became a media circus. Leavitt toured conservative podcasts, dropping one-liners and previews. "I respect AOC's energy," she said in one clip, "but if she thinks I'm a pushover, she's in for a surprise." AOC, on the other hand, went with a strategic silence, calculated, calm, but boiling beneath the surface. Then the night arrived. The stage was sleek, modern, pulsing with red and blue lights. 2 chairs, 2 mics, 2 icons of a divided generation. Karoline in a deep blue dress, subtle cross pendant visible, eyes sharp. AOC in a crisp white suit, posture firm, face unreadable. The moderator barely spoke before the energy shifted. AOC went first. "This isn't about celebrity moments. This is about justice. Climate, wages, women's rights. You're a spokesperson for a con man." She didn't blink. Leavitt responded without hesitation. "This is about the truth. And the truth is, Gen Z doesn't want lectures. We want strength. And if that's a problem, maybe it's because your generation of liberals got too used to applause instead of answers." The audience went silent. The real debate had begun. For 90 minutes, they clashed. Policy, faith, economy. TikTok banned border security. Clips went viral in real time. Karoline zingers. AOC's fire. One moment especially blew up, when AOC accused Leavitt of being a mouthpiece for extremism, and Karoline fired back, "Better a mouthpiece for strength than a puppet for chaos." X, TikTok, YouTube, they all exploded. By the next morning, headlines screamed, "Debate of the decade." CNN analysts called a draw. Fox declared Leavitt victorious. Independent polls? Split right down the middle. But the truth was clearer in the numbers that mattered. Follower spikes, Google searches, donation surges. And Karoline was ahead. Again, for AOC it wasn't a loss, but it wasn't the knockout her team hoped for. And for Leavitt, it was proof that her reign wasn't a fluke. She didn't just go viral. She held the line against the left's sharpest weapon. While Karoline Leavitt's momentum skyrocketed, not everyone in conservative world was thrilled. In fact, behind closed doors, knives were being sharpened. At first, it looked like a total victory. After the viral takedown of Robert De Niro and the blistering duel with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Leavitt had become the new face of right-wing fire. Her interviews went viral. Her donations spiked. Her face started showing up on T-shirts, coffee mugs, even pop-up memes in Times Square digital ads. Killer Karoline, fearless, faithful, fire. Trump was ecstatic. He hosted a private dinner at Mar-a-Lago with Leavitt at the head of the table. A video leaked from the evening showed him raising a glass and saying, "This girl, she's got it. She's a star. And she fights." The clip trended instantly, adding fuel to the speculation that Leavitt was being groomed not just for power, but for legacy. But that kind of stardom came with a price. Within days, the cracks began to show. Longtime Trump allies, old-school operatives, TV commentators, even former press secretaries, began whispering, "She's getting too big too fast." Who's really backing her? Is she loyal to Trump, or just using him as a ladder? One name surfaced often in these hushed conversations: Kayleigh McEnany. Kayleigh had once mentored Leavitt. She helped train her during the early White House days. But now, from her desk at Fox News, McEnany watched a younger woman dominate headlines she once owned. And it stung. Badly. On Outnumbered, McEnany gave her first subtle jab. Karoline's good, no doubt. But let's not forget, experience matters. Style's not substance. Social media caught the shade immediately. MAGA influencers fired back. Kayleigh sounds bitter. Others speculated. Jealousy is an ugly look. Karoline's a future. Still, the tension didn't end there. In Washington, key GOP senators began voicing concerns. Mitch McConnell's aides warned that Leavitt's brand, fiery anti-establishment, unfiltered, could fracture the coalition. Lindsey Graham, in a closed-door strategy meeting, said, "She's Trumpian, sure, but she's uncontrollable. That's dangerous in 2026. Then came the bombshell leak. A confidential RNC memo made its way to Axios. Karoline Leavitt may energize youth, but risks alienating moderates. Recommend slow-tracking further national exposure. The leak was like blood in the water. Pundits pounced. Was the GOP turning on its own rising star? Leavitt didn't stay quiet. At a Turning Point USA rally in Arizona, she stepped up to the mic, lips tight, voice defiant. "They say I'm too loud, too young, too much. But let me tell you something. The future doesn't ask permission from the past." The crowd erupted. And Trump? He doubled down. In a Truth Social post, he wrote, "Karoline is fire, fire, fire. The rhinos better back off. She fights for America, not for donors." That line, "not for donors," hit hard, especially because behind the scenes, donor-class Republicans were panicking. Big money bundlers in New York and Dallas have been lining up for Tim Scott, Ron DeSantis, even Kristi Noem. But their text threads were now flooded with memes and video clips of Karoline Leavitt owning mainstream media, dragging Dyro, and going toe-to-toe with AOC. She's going to take over the whole show, one donor warned. The final straw came when Karoline started hinting at something bigger. ACPAC, dressed in red and standing before a sea of cheering patriots. She dropped a line that shocked the base and rattled the establishment. "I'm not here just to be a voice. I'm here to lead. If they want to stop me, they better bring more than whispers and leaks. They'll need a war plan." Fox cut to commercial. CNN replayed it 20 times. The New York Post ran a full cover with the words, "Leavitt 2028? That same night, in the halls of the Capitol, GOP leadership met in a closed session, and the talk turned dark. "If she keeps this up, she'll split the party," one strategist warned. Another added, "If we don't control her, she'll control us." Then came the betrayal. A leaked video emerged, grainy but real. Kayleigh McEnany caught at a private fundraiser, saying, "We built her. Now we have to manage her." It detonated across the internet. Karoline responded within an hour. A selfie video from her car. No makeup, no team, just fire. "Let me be clear. No one built me. I worked. I fought. I earned this. And if that's threatening to some in the old guard, tough." Hashtag Manage Me trended instantly. Her supporters rallied. TikToks, Reels, tweets, all with one message. You don't own her. She belongs to us. But the storm wasn't over. Because somewhere in Washington, a rival was being activated. A well-funded, slick, new conservative face being pitched as a respectable Gen Z answer to Karoline's firebrand style. The GOP wasn't going to attack Leavitt head-on. They were going to replace her. The applause from CPAC was barely cooling off when the whispers began. Not from the left this time, but from the right. Somewhere in the polished corridors of GOP donor circles, a counter-move was forming. Karoline Leavitt was too hot, too unpredictable, too uncontrollable. If they couldn't manage her, they'd try something else. They'd replace her. Enter Reagan Daniels. She looked like the perfect answer. Harvard-educated, Navy reservist, raised in Ohio by small business owners. A new conservative starlet, media-trained, polished, polite. She made the rounds on Fox Business and Newsmax, and headlines began to flow. The other Gen Z Republican. A softer voice for the same values. Can Reagan Daniels unite the party? Leavitt saw the game instantly. It wasn't a coincidence. It was containment. They wanted Reagan to be the acceptable version, someone who didn't threaten the old order. But the media jumped on the catfight storyline. A Politico headline blared. Gen Z GOP Civil War. Karoline versus Reagan. Meanwhile, a Fox News host asked Daniels directly, "What do you think of Karoline Leavitt's approach?" Daniels smiled sweetly and replied, "I respect her energy. I just think there's a way to win hearts without throwing punches. It was a jab dressed as grace. Karoline didn't bite yet, but the walls were moving. Reagan was being booked everywhere. Even got a guest column in the Wall Street Journal. Donors began quietly shifting funds her way. And then came the invitation. A joint Fox News town hall. Karoline Leavitt, Reagan Daniels. Live. Prime time. Karoline's advisors were split. It's a trap, one warned. They want you to overreact. But Trump called her directly. Take it, he said. Be cool. Don't give them the fire they expect. Beat her with smarts. So Karoline said yes. The night of the debate arrived. The Fox studio was gleaming, audience packed, lights dialed to maximum intensity. Karoline walked out in a sharp white blazer. Calm, cool, no notes. Reagan Daniels followed. Navy blue, pearls, the portrait of prep. The contrast was obvious. Moderator Brett Baer began. Tonight, we have two rising stars of the Republican Party. The first question went to Reagan. How do you unify a party that's divided? Daniels smiled, crisp. We listen. We lead with grace. We don't make enemies of allies. The crowd clapped politely. Then to Leavitt. Karoline, you've been called divisive even by some conservatives. Your response? She leaned forward, eyes locked. I tell the truth. If that's divisive, maybe the problem isn't me. It's the lies we've accepted for too long. Gasps. Applause. The debate went back and forth. Reagan quoted Reagan. Karoline quoted the Constitution. Reagan called for civility. Karoline called for conviction. Then came the moment they'd been waiting for. Baer, Karoline, there are reports you've clashed with party leadership, that you've even been called unmanageable. Can you address that? Leavitt paused, smiled. They said Washington couldn't manage Trump either. How'd that turn out? The crowd roared. But behind the scenes, Reagan's team wasn't relying on the debate. They had something else planned. A leak, right as the town hall ended. A mysterious dossier began spreading through political Twitter and Washington insider circles. Screenshots, alleged emails, supposed texts, claims that Karoline's team had secretly hired a social media firm to smear Reagan online. The hashtag Leavitt leaks took off like wildfire. Cable news ran with it. CNN claimed Karoline Leavitt caught playing dirty. MSNBC called it proof of Trump-style tactics. Even conservative influencers began asking questions. Karoline was blindsided. Her team denied everything. The documents looked doctored, but perception was snowballing. Reagan Daniels went on The View the next morning, almost teary-eyed. I just want to move the party forward. I didn't expect this from someone I respected. It was textbook, the soft stab. Leavitt knew it. This wasn't about a debate. This was about narrative control. They couldn't beat her in a fight, so they tried to brand her a villain. But what they didn't expect was who'd come to her defense. From the shadows of exile, a voice emerged. Steve Bannon. On War Room, Bannon dedicated a full segment to the takedown attempt. This is classic establishment. They fear Karoline because she's effective. Reagan Daniels is their puppet. These leaks? Manufactured garbage. The real battle is between the firebrands and the phonies. His words hit hard. MAGA Twitter reawakened. Trump reposted a clip from the debate with Karoline's Reagan line. They couldn't manage Trump either. He added one word. Exactly. The tide turned again. Independent analysts dissected the so-called leak and found inconsistencies. The media began pulling back. And Karoline, ever the fighter, went back on the offense. In a new video, calm but intense, she spoke directly to camera. When you shake the system, it fights back. But let me be clear, I'm not backing down. The future doesn't belong to those who play nice while America burns. It belongs to those who fight. The message exploded. Hashtag Fight Like Karoline trended within hours. Donations poured in. Fox News tried to book both women again. This time, Karoline declined. Instead, she scheduled to sit down, not with media figure, but with Elon Musk at X headquarters. She was going to take her message straight to the platform that shaped her rise. The trip to San Francisco wasn't publicized. No press pool, no Fox cameras. Just Karoline, 2 aides, and a private jet funded quietly by a MAGA-line donor. Destination? X headquarters, Elon Musk's empire, the new digital coliseum where narratives were made or broken. Ever since her clash with Robert De Niro, X had become Karoline's unofficial war room. Memes, viral clips, hashtags, it all pulsed from here. And now, with the Reagan-Daniels leak scandal turning into a digital Cold War, Karoline wasn't about to let her enemies set the terms. She'd go to the source. When the black SUV pulled into the stark glass structure of the X compound, staffers peeked from corners. Whispers fluttered. Was that really her? Yes. In a fitted black blazer and MAGA red heels. Karoline walked through the lobby like she owned it. Musk was already waiting. Hands in pockets, a amused smile, wearing a t-shirt that read, "I identify as awake." They shook hands. No press, no preamble, just a private room, an espresso machine, and an energy only 2 disruptors could generate. Musk spoke first. "I saw the debate. And the drama. You broke the platform. Again." Karoline smirked. "I break lies, Elon, not platforms." He grinned. "Fair." They talked for 2 hours. About censorship, about legacy media's decline, about algorithms and free speech. Musk was fascinated, not by her politics, but her strategy. She understood that the real power was no longer in Washington, but in reach. Attention was a currency, and Karoline knew how to spend it. Then came the ask. "Let's do something big," she said. "A space where conservative voices don't get shadow banned, where people like me don't have to go through 5 layers of PR to speak." Musk raised an eyebrow. "Like a show?" "Bigger. A channel. A full Gen Z conservative media arm, built inside X. Call it X Revolt." The idea hit like a thunderclap. Not just a podcast or a live stream. A curated feed of raw, unfiltered conservative content, directly plugged into X's infrastructure. Fast clips. No scripts. No filters. A direct line to millions. Musk didn't say yes right away. But he didn't say no either. He leaned back, eyes calculating. "If we do this, it breaks everything." Karoline leaned forward, voice firm. "Good." The meeting ended with a handshake. And a tweet, short, cryptic, and electric. "Elon Musk, something disruptive is coming. Stay tuned. Hashtag XRevolt." Within minutes, conservative media exploded. X Revolt? Karoline involved? Musk backing her? The left panicked. MSNBC ran an emergency panel. "Is Elon giving MAGA a digital state?" The Daily Beast headlined, "Elon Musk's latest move could hand the far right a new megaphone." Liberals began trending hashtag #BanXRevolt. But it was too late. The narrative had shifted again. Karoline released a 60-second teaser, shot inside the X building. Minimalist, sleek, her voice narrating. "They tried to cancel us, silence us, bury us, but we built our own microphone. No handlers, no censors, no apologies. Welcome to X Revolt, where the next generation fights back." The video broke 1 million views in under 3 hours. Charlie Kirk called it the digital Tea Party moment. Steve Bannon labeled it the second great MAGA awakening. Trump reposted it with, "She gets it. Total killer move." But behind the hype, cracks were forming. In D.C., GOP old guard operatives were rattled. One consultant was quoted in Politico, "If she's got Musk, we've lost control." And from inside Reagan-Daniels' camp, a new plan formed. The digital war had escalated. If Karoline owned X, they'd turn to other battlegrounds. TikTok, podcasts, even Hollywood influencers. And then the unexpected hit. An op-ed appeared in the New York Times, allegedly penned by a former Trump White House insider. Title, "Why Karoline Leavitt is Dangerous, and Not in a Good Way." The piece accused her of burning bridges, alienating allies, and creating a cult of personality around digital rage. It didn't name names, but the tone was unmistakably bitter. Some speculated it came from inside Trump world itself. Someone once loyal, now threatened by her rise. Karoline ignored it. Publicly. Privately, she made a list because she knew something else was coming. Something big. The lights of the White House briefing room had barely cooled from Karoline's latest scorcher of a press moment, dismantling a hostile NPR reporter with a single glance and a biting line about government-funded gaslighting, when her comms director, Rachel Bloom, handed her the phone. "You need to see this," Rachel said, her voice tight. It was a leak, a deep one, a series of screenshots dumped to Axios and quickly picked up by the Washington Post and Rolling Stone. Private signal chats. Karoline's team discussing press strategies, targeting liberal journalists, mocking GOP dinosaurs behind closed doors, even contemplating primary challenges to Trump relics in red ties. One quote in particular caught fire. "The boomers want control, but they don't have teeth. We'll let them think they're still in charge while we burn down their playbook." The backlash was immediate. CNN headlined, "Is MAGA's rising star torching her own party?" Fox hosts fumbled to defend her. Some refused to even mention the leak. Sean Hannity remained silent, a red flag. Inside Trump's orbit, it got worse. An unnamed Mar-a-Lago aide leaked to Politico. "Trump loves Karoline, but this makes her look like she's running her own MAGA too. Zero show without him." For a moment, everything paused. Karoline had fought De Niro, outmaneuvered the media, and built a digital empire. But this was different. This was internal sabotage. She called an emergency meeting. Phones locked. Team seated in her D.C. war room. A private space near Capitol Hill lined with Reagan portraits and a massive screen tracking real-time social media trends. Her eyes scanned the room. "Someone in this circle," she said coldly, "is leaking to the enemy." No one spoke. Rachel looked shaken. The tech guy, Connor, fidgeted. The intern, Lily, looked like she might cry. But one face was missing. Matt Greer, her deputy press coordinator. Charming, well-connected. Harvard alum. The one who'd always played nice with establishment types. Karoline called his number. No answer. Within an hour, Axios posted an update. Exclusive. Leavitt's inner circle split. Aide speaks out on toxic culture. It was Matt. He claimed she was out of control. Power drunk. Too close to Elon. Hijacking Trump's message for her own brand. He even dropped the name of the Extravolt Project, which until then had been tightly sealed. That night, Anderson Cooper ran a segment titled Karoline's MAGA Meltdown. De Niro's old allies came crawling back to gloat. Alyssa Milano tweeted, "Turns out the Gen Z hero is just another wannabe dictator with a ring light." Karoline stayed off camera for 24 hours. Silent, watching. But she wasn't broken. She was boiling, because she now understood her rise had made enemies on both sides. The left wanted her gone. But so did the legacy GOP, the scared consultants, and the washed-up grifters still clinging to the Trump coattails like it was 2016. So she did what no one expected. She scheduled an appearance live on the one show that hated her the most, The View. The announcement hit X like a meteor. Karoline Leavitt, live on The View this Friday. The backlash was swift. Conservatives screamed betrayal. Why give those vultures airtime? Trump world was eerily quiet. Liberals cheered, hoping she'd implode under pressure. But Karoline had a different plan. "If they want a war," she told Rachel, "then I'll bring fire." Friday, live TV, Sunny Hostin, Joy Behar, Whoopi, all seated and sharpened. Karoline walked in, sleek and steel-eyed and white. She didn't smile. She didn't flinch. She looked every inch the headline she'd become. "Thanks for having me," she said, cool as glass. What followed wasn't debate. It was a reckoning. Joy tried to frame her as a Trump puppet. Karoline fired back. "You support Hollywood predators and then call my generation toxic? Please." Sunny questioned her faith. Karoline leaned in. "Being Catholic isn't a liability unless you're afraid of conviction." Whoopi tried to end the segment early, but Karoline smiled and said the line that broke the internet. Again, "Ladies, you don't have to like me, but the country's watching." And they're listening to me, not you. The audience, even in that liberal studio, gasped. That night, clips from A View went supernova. Even liberal viewers admitted. She came armed. A Gen Z progressive posted, I hate her politics, but she owned that room. Zervote's subscriber list doubled in 48 hours. Matt Greer? Discredited. Exposed for pocketing donor funds through a shadow PAC. Turned out, the GOP elite had funded his betrayal. Karoline didn't gloat, but she did post one thing. Never mistake silence for surrender. Some of us reload quietly. Just as Karoline Leavitt reclaimed her narrative and silenced the traitors in her circle, the shadows regrouped. The media war machine never sleeps, and its latest weapon came with a familiar name, Reagan Daniels, the former White House insider turned populist critic, a man once aligned with Trump, now trying to reclaim conservatism from what he called Gen Z TikTok clout chasers. He hadn't forgotten Karoline's rise. He hadn't forgiven it either. So he launched the Daniels dossier, a sleek video, released unannounced on X, dripping with dramatic narration and grainy footage. It was built to look like a whistleblower expose. But the real target? Karoline Leavitt. She talks about truth, but what truth is she hiding? The video alleged that Karoline had a sealed university incident in her past, a protest confrontation caught on tape, but never made public. It hinted at funding from tech billionaires who wanted her as their puppet. It even implied she used AI to script her comebacks, a bizarre yet viral claim. The left jumped on it. MSNBC led with Leavitt, the manufactured politician. Daniels followed up with an op-ed. Karoline is clever, but she's no revolutionary. She's a product, and like all products, she'll expire. The smear campaign took fire. Even some MAGA accounts wavered. A popular X account tweeted, Is Karoline real, or just another influencer in a suit? But Karoline didn't post. She didn't respond. Instead, she showed up in person ACPAC. Alone, no entourage, no podium, just her and a mic. She walked onto the stage in silence. The crowd leaned forward. They call me a product, she said slowly, voice clear as crystal. Good, because America needs a product that fights, not folds, that prays and punches. I don't hide my ambition. I wear like armor. And if Daniels or De Niro or anyone else want to fight, I'm right here. She paused, then delivered the final blow. They say Gen Z can't lead. Well, we're not asking permission anymore. The applause wasn't just loud. It shook the floor. Her clip from PAC broke 10 million views by morning. The Daniels dossier was debunked piece by piece. The university footage? A manipulated video from a peaceful pro-life protest. The AI scripts? A satire blog twisted into evidence. Daniels faded. De Niro stayed quiet. Trump posted once more. Karoline Leavitt, pure class, pure strength. She's not just a future. She's now. Epilogue. The iron mic in the weeks that followed. Karoline's approval among young conservatives soared. Her face appeared on a Time cover. The new right's sharpest voice. Even critics had to admit she had redefined political warfare. She didn't just win arguments. She owned the arena. A new documentary was announced, Killer Karoline, The Rise of Gen Z Power. And on the anniversary of her showdown with Dyro, she stood once again in the Fox News studio. This time, not as a guest, but as the host. Welcome, she said. Tonight we speak truth, and we speak it loud. Final words. The Karoline Leavitt saga wasn't just a story about one woman's rise. It was a mirror reflecting a nation divided, digitized, and desperate for a voice sharp enough to cut through the noise. She was mocked, attacked, betrayed, but she never blinked. And now, she doesn't just survive the storm. She commands it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next political firestorm, because in today's America, the next Karoline might already be sharpening their blade.